Hello and welcome to album review number 30. Today I'm going to be reviewing A Rainbow and Curved Air by Terry Riley. This is going to be quite a short review because the album is comprised of only two side-long instrumental pieces, but I absolutely love this album. I've loved it for quite a long time actually, and I'd love to share my feelings. Recorded in 1968 and released in 1969, A Rainbow and Curved Air is an extremely important part of electronic music history. This was back when electronic music was in its primitive experimental phase. This of course takes big inspiration from Morton Subotnick's Silver Apples of the Moon, which is widely considered to be the first ever electronic album. While I find that album quite difficult to listen to, it was supposed to be improvisational and doesn't really have that much of a melody. A Rainbow and Curved Air, however, does have a melody, but it is by no means any less experimental than anything Morton Subotnick did. The first side is the 18-minute title piece, which from the very first second is so interesting and alluring in my opinion. It starts off soft, but then the piece immediately bursts into life with a loud cacophony of keyboard sounds. It's such an uplifting piece of music as well, throughout, very major key and so full of life. Most of the opening sequence is in 7/8 time as well. The piece continues with short and long bursts of unique and interesting keyboard sounds and different melodies until about a third of the way through, when the piece gets softer and becomes much more subtle. I love this second third because it feels so warm and psychedelic. In the final third we get some tambourine added in and the intensity continues to build again until we get this beautiful crescendo of loud keyboard sounds. The piece then suddenly cuts off into silence and that's the end. It's an amazing piece and it was largely achieved by basically using multiple keyboard tracks. I don't know how many exactly, but it feels like there's like dozens of them and just blending them together and on top of each other, and tape loops were also used as well. The piece has gone on to directly inspire Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, The Who's Baba O'Riley and Soft Machine's Out Bloody Rageous, but to be honest it's probably gone on to inspire pretty much any electronic musician since, even accidentally or indirectly. The second side is called Poppy No Good and the Phantom Band and it is much more melancholy. The track uses a similar technique with saxophones instead of keyboards, that's sort of looping and going on top of each other. It's much more of a drone piece as well and is much more subtle than the first side. It begins with electronic drone sounds periodically interspersed with saxophone notes, but as the track goes on, the intensity builds and the saxophone notes become much more sporadic and frequent. This continues up until the last minute or so when we're left with only the drone sounds again as the track fades out. Poppy No Good and the Phantom Band is just as beautiful as A Rainbow and Curved Air, but in a much more somber, darker way I'd say. Overall, it's such an impressive album that pushed so many boundaries, inspired so many artists as well since it came out. Its importance on the history of progressive music, electronic and jazz fusion can't be overstated. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. So that has been definitely quite a short video, probably my shortest review ever. It's been like a year since my last video, my last review. I mean, I did do a video recently on a certain Roger Waters track, but it's been a year since my last review and I do plan on getting into them more frequently again, which I think I said last year, but as always I do plan. I still haven't cut my hair because of COVID, but I'm getting vaccinated soon, so that should be good. Anyway, thanks for watching, good to be back and thanks for the support. Goodbye.